Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've done one, but it's time to do another dating video. Today, the topic of the video is going to be dopamine and how it relates to dating and what I think about it in general. We're going to talk about multiple different things here today, and I'm going to coin a term right now that I'm going to call dopamine dating. And to begin, let me just explain for those of you who don't know. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that exists in your body. Your brain produces dopamine, and it's a huge key part of your brain's reward system. You do something, makes you feel good, dopamine releases, encourages you to do it a second time. It's great. People think that it was originally evolved as a method to stop people from doing things that hurt themselves. Like, for example, if you punch yourself in the face real hard or you hit yourself in the head with a rock, it's gonna hurt. No dopamine. Bad. Pain. No good. But monkey brain like when eat fruit, real sugar. Delicious. Many dopamine release. I tried to explain that as simply as I can. Um, but I think that most people will get the gist here. It's what encourages you to keep doing the happy behaviors and discourages you from doing the hit yourself in the head with a rock behaviors. But how exactly does that relate to dating? Well, I'm going to get there, but let me first start by talking about online dating, and then we'll bring this together nearer to the end of the video and show how this relates. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is that I think that online dating has created a scenario for many people, and many people are using it. Something like 33% of all people right now in the US, at least over the age of 18, found their current partner through online dating, and even higher of a percentage found their partner or a previous partner through online dating. So it's kind of popular to use online dating as a measure for finding somebody to be with. Now, one of the issues that I primarily blame online dating for is that it has gamified dating for many people. You sit down, you swipe, and sometimes swipe the other direction, and it gives you what you want. And it's algorithm based. It uses an algorithm to determine who might they like, why might they like them. Let's show this person these people that we think they're gonna like. Swipe. And eventually you win by getting a match. Then you send a message, you win again when they respond to a message. You win again when you schedule a date with the person. And then when you're on the date, you're even, you big win. Oh my God, I'm on a date right now, forming a social connection. One of the primary drivers of dopamine is, well, one, obviously, to many of you, I'm sure, sex is a huge dopamine releasing agent. But two, forming social connections and just socialization in general in a positive way releases dopamine as well. It's one of the primary precursors of your body releasing dopamine, which is great. We love dopamine. It encourages us to not hit head with rock. However, it also can encourage some malignant behaviors when it comes to certain things that we're talking about. In this case, we're going to discuss dating, but you could talk about dopamine and malignant behavior development in all kinds of different walks of life. Food consumption behaviors, social media consumption behaviors, drug consumption behaviors. It appears everywhere. So I'm kind of surprised that I don't see it come up in dating more often, but that's what this video is for. So anyway, back to the gamification of dating. You win at all these different points. Okay? It gives you dopamine rush. You feel good. It makes you happy. You're really feeling it. So that's good, right? You feel good. But the problem is, since it's been gamified and you're being rewarded and encouraged to swipe as much as possible, what I find is that a lot of people have been trending in the direction of, I just want quick hit relationships, hurry, 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 bam, 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 bam. And they never actually take the time to sit down and really give the other person across the table a real shot at a real date with them. And I already can hear the comments typing up furiously for people saying, "Oh, well, this group does that. Oh, well, that's this group's fault." It's all of our fault. I've seen this with young men, I've seen this with young women, and I've seen it with everybody in between. Everybody is doing this right now. There is no one group that's primarily responsible. But when I particularly see this as a problem is, again, when people meet through online dating. Not to say online dating's bad. I've engaged in online dating myself throughout my life. Good stuff. Am I right? Release some dopamine, sugary fruit, very good monkey brain. But at the same time, if both people aren't actually willing to go on this date and sit down and make a real attempt to form a relationship with the other person, there's not going to be a relationship. Because one of the key things that you'll find about relationships and long-term relationship building is that it takes a long time to build a long-term relationship. You're never going to go on a first date with somebody and just immediately want to marry them. I mean, some people will, but we all know, logically thinking without using our monkey brains, that that's a bad idea, and we all know the reasons why that's a bad idea. However, give it like 3 months, you probably will be out of the honeymoon phase, and you'll be thinking, do I really like this person? But even to get out of that honeymoon phase, it takes about 3 months. It takes a long term in order to find out if you actually want a long-term relationship with this person. So what I have found is that the issue arises, and my next point that I'm going to bring in here, again, I'm going to blame online dating again and dopamine, is what I call the rise of the quickie relationship, okay? So we're all familiar with what a quickie is. You know what I mean? You get that wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and then you're done. Kind of quickie, hurry, 15-minute fun, bang, bang. But I actually think that this kind of similar behavior is starting to extend into relationships and dating as well. And I think that that's not necessarily a good thing. But let's define what I mean by a quickie relationship. So you just met somebody online, okay? It's going great. You set a date, you go out on the date with the person, you get there, it's totally fine, whatever, time to move on to the next. Like I said, no particular group is doing this. Everybody is doing this. It's like 50-50, both sides. I don't want to hear anybody in the comments blaming one group over the other, because you're being nonsensical. It's just not true. You're using emotions to guide what you're typing instead of using your logical thinking path here and understanding that everyone is doing this. Everyone produces dopamine. This is just how it works. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any victim blaming, or not victim blaming, but blaming period on any specific groups of people here in the comments, because it won't be constructive, and I think you're wrong. Anyway, I think that the quickie relationship has strengthened this dopamine cycle, and I think that the quickie relationship has only been made possible, again, because of the rise of online dating. I think swiping as many times as you want, you can be sitting there at any given time with 20 people on deck who are interested in you. So why would you sit and make a long-term relationship when you can get that quick dopamine hit, slam, blam, bam, 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 get them neurons firing, delicious, sugary fruit good, monkey brain happy. But, thing is, again, for long-term relationship building, you have to sit down, make a concerted and concentrated effort, and actually make a relationship with somebody. But because of the way that things have been gamified, and because of the way that quickie relationships have become so popular, it seems as though people just aren't doing that. And that's a problem, because you ask anybody who's engaged in online dating, I would argue that 7 out of 10 of them aren't interested in a quickie relationship. They'll tell you, oh, I'm interested in a long-term relationship, finding a long-term relationship partner to be with. But the problem is, and I don't think they realize this, their behaviors are not helping them to achieve that goal. Their behaviors and online dating itself encourages people inherently to seek out these quick relationships. Wham, bam, this person's not perfect, bam, on to the next. This person's not perfect, bam, on to the next. And every time you meet one of these people, the dopamine gets flowing. Your brain lights up, gets real happy like a Christmas tree around Christmas time. And you get happy. You start to get used to, you start this behavior cycle of quick relationship, quick relationship, quick relationship. And then you realize 10 years down the road that it didn't really form any actual meaningful relationships. And I'm using 10 years, just that's the number that popped into my head. Could be a year from now you realize I didn't form any meaningful relationships and I went out on 20 dates. Well, the reason that you went out on 20 dates and didn't form any meaningful relationships is because you didn't actually sit down and try to form a meaningful relationship over a long period of time with this person. You just wanted the quick dopamine release. I'm not saying consciously you made that decision. I'm saying that because of the way that things have been gamified, you're predisposed to behave that way, and it's not good for anybody. It hurts everyone. And even in the case where you have one person sit down at the table and they say, yeah, I'm really interested in forming a long-term relationship. Well, okay, that's great. But if the other person on the other end of the table is still stuck in this dopamine cycle that's been gamified by online dating, you're still not going to be able to form that long-term deep connection, and you're not going to be able to engage in connection-forming behaviors with that person because they're still stuck in the cycle. It takes two. Both people sitting at the table need to have that going for them. They both need to want that. They both need to make the effort in order to make it work. Which leads to the next thing. I want to talk about how this has affected people's behaviors and attitudes when it comes to dating. So, first thing that I'm going to say is that this dopamine cycle, I think, contributes to people having way stronger emotional reactions when it comes to things like rejection, when it comes to things like validation, when it comes to instant gratification, when it comes to nitpicking, just relationships in general. I think that this cycle, being caught in this dopamine cycle, amplifies everything that you experience emotionally. And that's what it does. I mean, you're being rewarded for ramping up your behaviors over a long period of time. So it would make sense that over time, the emotions attached to these behaviors become even stronger, especially in the case of rejection, like I just said, where you get denied your dopamine hit. I think that that's where a lot of people really start to fall off the deep end and nosedive into the ocean, the Mariana Trench, when it comes to dating. I think they start to get caught in a cycle that they can't get out of because they just keep getting rejected, keep getting stronger emotions, keep getting rejected, keep getting stronger emotions of rejection, like feelings, like negative feelings I'm talking about, not positive ones. Positive ones would be great. However, I think that because of these stronger emotional reactions, I think that things like nitpicking and unrealistic expectations have run rampant on society at this point. So one of the primary things that I think shows itself in this is we've all heard the story. Your friend has gone on a date with someone and they've said, yeah, they were great. That's amazing. Oh, okay, cool. So when are you guys going on a second date? You still talking to them? Nah, dude, the vibe was off. the vibe was just not there. Like, oh, I thought you just said it was great. Yeah, it went great. It was a great date. But the vibe wasn't there. They chewed funny. Or they had a space in their front teeth, a little tiny one. Or they ordered food that I don't like. Just random little nitpicks. But I think that the reason that those nits are getting picked and why it feels so important to that person in the moment is because of this intense dopamine cycle that they're going through, amplifying their emotions surrounding the behavior. For example, if somebody is addicted to drugs and you tell them to stop doing drugs, I'm sure we all know how that person is going to react to drugs, like being told not to do drugs anymore. However, if somebody just started doing drugs, they just had their first hit of cocaine, okay? If you stop them right then and there on their first hit and give them like 3 months of no cocaine, they're probably not going to become addicted to cocaine. They're probably not going to have an emotional response to cocaine, or somebody telling them you shouldn't be doing cocaine. The dopamine cycle enhances, magnifies emotions. And I think that, like I said, this contributes to the nitpicking behavior that we're seeing from everybody, really. I think that when you hear your friend doing that, the response should automatically be, whoa, hey man, go on the second date. You never know. Like, maybe you're just feeling that way the first time. Go on the second date. You never know how it's going to go. You never know how you're going to feel after the second date. You might really find that you enjoy that person, or you might really find that things are going much better on the second date. It takes a long time to form a meaningful connection, you know. But instead of saying that, a lot of what I've seen is, oh yeah, man, I mean, if the vibe was off, been there. I've had vibes that were off too. I mean, I know how you feel. Don't go on the second date. And I feel like that is just destructive advice. I think that it really harms people when you give them the advice to not go on the second date just because of some nits that they've picked. Because there will never, ever, 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 and I mean never, ever, 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 ever be a person who is 100% perfect. It will never happen. If you're expecting that, you have unrealistic expectations and you're nitpicking. And that's totally fine. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. I'm not discouraging people from engaging in this behavior because I think it's bad morally or anything like that, or you can't do it. Oh no, wag the finger. I'm going to say that go ahead, do this as much as you please. However, when you don't find a partner and 10 years have gone by and you are still single and you're very upset about it, I don't want to hear that you're upset about it or that it's anyone's fault except yours. Because it's your fault that you wanted to engage in this quick dating behavior. You can break the cycle. You can look for somebody and accept their weaknesses and their strengths and look at it at more of a holistic approach rather than just, here's a nit, right in the trash, we're done. I think that that's just, one, unfair. Two, you're just encouraging the dopamine cycle to keep hitting. And three, you might be really missing out on some very strong and deep relationships that you're just throwing to the wayside because you just are not willing to accept that maybe your expectations are a little bit unrealistic. Yeah, I mean, I know that hits people really hard. The idea that their expectations might be unrealistic. I know that a lot of people have huge egos surrounding dating, but I think that every now and then it might be a healthy thing to put aside the ego a little bit, go on a few dates with a person, and stop really engaging in the gamification. Like, for example, I would strongly encourage everybody here to pick a person that they were already planning on going on a date with, that they've met through online dating. Just commit yourself to going on 3 dates with this person, so long as, you know, the person's not insane. Like, I'm not encouraging you to go on a second date with somebody who has 1,000,005 red flags, but I am encouraging you to maybe go easy on the nitpicking the red flags. Like, maybe something isn't really a red flag. Maybe it's more like a beige flag or a yellow flag. Maybe you can just be like cautious and yield, but still keep going. See if you can get past it. Because I guarantee you, you're going to find that there's plenty of things about that person that you really do like. You will. You will find those things about most people. You will find things that you do like. Is that a guarantee that the relationship is going to work? No, of course not. It never is. But it does help you break out of this cycle of gamifying your dating. And when you gamify your dating, it just kind of makes you feel like an empty husk of a human. It doesn't emotionally feel good. And I'm sure many of you agree with me and understand that volume when it comes to dating is never really all that fulfilling. And I'm going to go ahead and lean back into dopamine again. Something that we know about dopamine is that as you're exposed to the behavior that you're engaging in more and more and more and more, you build up a tolerance to the dopamine release that you feel when you engage in that behavior. I know that it sucks, but I think that because of this tolerance building, I think people start to lean more into the behavior, and that's natural. That is what you are primed to do as a human being, deep in the recesses of your monkey brain. Deep in there is the programming to behave that way. But we are not monkey brain, we are human brain. Use the executive function control to just focus on one person for at least a few months. I know this is a radical idea to many people, and just try it. I'm telling you, you're gonna feel better, and it's gonna make all of your relationships more rewarding, because your tolerance is going to decrease if you're engaging in the gamifying less. Your tolerance will go down. It's just like drugs. You hit the drug more, you need more of the drug in order to feel the same. Same thing when it comes to these dating behaviors. The more volume you get, the more volume you need. So what I'm suggesting is just try, even if it feels kind of weird at first, lower the volume a little bit. Engage less in playing the game that Tinder wants you to play. Don't play it. It's not a video game. This is real life. Don't play the game. These big companies do not have your best interests in mind. Tinder, OkCupid, eHarmony, all of these dating websites, Plenty of Fish, they are automatically incentivized to make sure that you stay single. Because if you don't stay single, they lose a customer. Do not trust them when it comes to telling you what dating behaviors are good and which ones aren't. They have an incentive to encourage this gamification of dating and encourage this dopamine cycle to get more and more and more severe. They don't care about you. They will use your brain like a dopamine condom until your wallet is drained. They don't care if you are single, if you are married, if you are cheating on a partner. They don't care. They care that you use Tinder. They care that you use OkCupid. So take everything that they give you with a huge heaping dose of salt, because they want you to be single. They do. It is their business model, is helping single people. It'd be like if a cigarette company told people to stop smoking cigarettes. They would never do that because they'd lose customers. And they know that smoking cigarettes is bad for you. Same way that Tinder must know that this gamification of online dating is bad for you. It harms your ability to form long-term relationships. And because of that, you are going to be struggling to feel the same amount of pleasure that you would otherwise. All right. I know I talked about a lot in this video. I really needed to get this off my chest. I did like 20 fucking takes of this video before I finally was happy with it, because I'm trying not to piss everyone off again. But I think I got my point across, and I appreciate you listening. Please go ahead in the comments, talk about this with me. I really want to start an open dialogue, a big discussion about the ethics of these dating sites, dopamine itself and how it's affecting relationships. I want to hear about your personal experiences with this kind of mechanism, this dopamine mechanism when it comes to relationship building and dating. And I think that's all I have for you guys. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the like button. I always appreciate it. It does inform me of which videos I should continue making versus not continue making. And I hope I'll see you next time. As always, I post once a week, and you'll see me next week. Bye, everybody. I love y'all.